evacuate your lunch. First of all, everybody stay seated till I walk out.
Yeah. My life is more important than anybody else's. Maybe not to y'all.
Once I'm halfway down the stairs, you can get up.
I will hold the door for you. What are we gonna do donuts this morning? Film me.
Everybody but Nelson is on his way up.
Alright, so we can get started, guys. Obviously, y'all have already started on unloading today and everything like that, but once we finish up with the AR training class and everything, we might head downstairs and do a little bit of hands-on training outside on the rail cars and everything like that. Craig show you a couple of things. It won't take very long and everything like that, but that visually see it and everything. Alright, everybody knows the address is 7001 Anderson Road. Jimmy, if you would, if there's an emergency, please call 911.
Sure.
Mark, if you would, have a head count for us and everything like that. If we have an emergency of any kind, guys, you need to head straight down the stairs right here, straight down the stairs, straight out the back door, and let's everybody meet right over there by the guard station. We have first aid kit downstairs, no, what is it? AED on site and everything. The purpose of this class today is Craig Milbauer is with the AR. He's one of 2.5 auditors out there.
2.25.
Yeah, 2.25. When we get audited here in Tampa, chances are you're either gonna see this gentleman or you're gonna see his counterpart, David, that will be coming out here to do the audit and everything like that. So today, please take notes, mental notes, paper notes. If anybody wants some paper and stuff like that, I can hand some out. But it is very imperative that we pay attention. It's gonna take about 2 to 3 hours to go through this presentation. And we're gonna go step by step of exactly what he's gonna come out here and audit y'all on. So there's no secrets. He's gonna tell you, when I come out here and look at this type of chalk, this is how it needs to be stored. When I measure a junction, this is how it's supposed to be measured and everything like that. So we're hearing it from the horse's mouth right now. So let's take full advantage of it and everything like that. Expectations were a 99.75 or higher on our next audit here and everything.
If I ask for anybody that is bilingual to make sure you're sitting next to somebody that does not speak English, Craig is not bilingual, either am I. So what we're going to depend on the guy next to him. If you look like you got a question on a picture or something, grab the guy next to you. He can ask the question to Craig for you. But in the meantime, for those of you guys that don't speak English, if anybody can translate, don't get frustrated. Our trainers are here. They'll be able to go over this stuff with you when you're done. But you do have the ability to ask the question through your bilingual partner.
Herm, you got anything?
Well, Craig, appreciate you being here, of course, and General, appreciate you guys putting this together. You know, for the new folks on the Tampa crew, this is a great opportunity to learn, you know, how to handle our customer product like they expect us to. So you're coming in at a perfect time to get this training, so you know how to do this job correctly and appropriately. You know, too often from what I've seen in this business, people are hired on and they're just thrown out there to do a job and they really don't know how to do it, you know, in line with our customers' expectations. And so again, it's a perfect opportunity for you guys to learn how to do this job correctly. And that's what we get paid to do at the end of the day. It's not just about unloading automobiles, it's how we unload those automobiles, and it's doing it safely and with quality in mind for our customers' expectations. So take notes and take away as much as you can.
For y'all new guys that's been here less than a couple of days and everything, Mike is our representative for CSX. He works for CSX. He's over all the Florida facilities and everything. So you'll see Mike probably once or twice a month. He kind of pops in. He works out of Jacksonville, Florida and everything. So this is our customer, guys. This is who we do business for. Obviously, you new guys also, you probably don't know it, but that man right there is your manager. He's also a regional manager for our company. His name's Mark. You'll be seeing him a week, Monday, he will officially be here on site as your operations manager. Nelson is probably who you're familiar with. He's been here filling in. Nelson's his assistant manager that was in West Palm Beach. So again, take everything in, guys. Greg, we'll hand it over to you.
We ready? All right. Good morning. So we got a lot of new guys?
Raise your hand if you're here less than a week. I think there's 3,
Okay.
4.
Anybody who's over 6 months?
Over? Yeah, I mean,
Anybody been through an audit here? No? All right. There's 37 questions on a destination quality review, and there's 2 main points that we're looking at when we're looking at each of those 37 questions. Anybody gather to take a guess at what we're looking at? The 2 main reasons behind these quality reviews? I heard somebody mumble accident. Yeah, damage prevention. Yeah. And what's the most important thing? Safety. Safety and damage
There you go.
prevention. So as Sean said, we're gonna go through basically the destination quality review question by question. We'll go over the scoring procedure for it, what we're looking for, how I score it, and usually the most common exceptions I'll see for those questions. But as we said, safety, number 1. Most of the people in this room probably don't know who that is. That's Pat Breslin, one of our counterparts. He's taking a nap. But for you guys that have been around a while, safety rules are written in blood, the blood of friends of coworkers. That's the same we've had on the railroad forever. Every rule and regulation that we have is because at some point in time we had a problem doing it. And then the make sure your tracks and equipment are protected. You guys probably first thing you learn day 1, never to work on an unprotected track. So the destination quality review, we'll start with the multi-level placement. CSX still does spotting here?
Yep.
Right, okay. So we'll go through each question. We've got 5 of them in that section. The deck height's equal, the couplers in proper position, the handbrake set, multi-levels placed properly for unloading and track protection. You guys can see, that's not gonna work on the TV. You see the A's and B's to the right there? So in 2013, the audit went to a weighted system, and A questions are weighted the heaviest, B the second heaviest, and then we don't have any C questions in this section, but C questions are rated the lowest. So if we mess up an A question, it hurts quite a bit. The first question in the transportation section, deck height's equal, pretty good as an industry, 97% average. But what we're looking for here is to check to ensure the deck height differences do not exceed 4 inches. For deck height differences between 3 and 4 inches, we need to confirm that we're using a spotter for every vehicle type that goes over that junction. Measurements are taken from the multi-level deck. That could be A, B, or C. Most commonly, it's A deck that we'll find exceptions on, but we do have exceptions on B or C deck. So we measure from the multi-level deck to the top of the rail. So this is probably one of the more common enclosures that you'll see, a radial or seal type enclosure. And that's not going to show it all, is it? So for here, when we're measuring deck height, you can see we're at the top of the rail to this point right here on the lower door track. So I can't quite read, but that says about 38 inches. And then I would turn around the adjacent rail car, again measure top of the rail to this point on the deck. You take your 2 differences, you subtract them. So if I'm 38 on this one and I'm 36 on the other one, then I've got a 2-inch deck height difference, right? Probably the most common questions we get are how to measure these, multi-max or Autoflex or convertible racks. We would come right from the support flange down to the top of the rail. Same thing here. We would come right here from the support flange down to the top of the rail. No. Alright. So deck height's greater than 2 inches, we got to attach the plates to the high side, right? And then over 3 inches to 4 inches, we need to use a spotter. So what's the big deal about deck heights? What kind of potential hazards or problems can we run into when we've got a deck height difference?
Bumper damage, bottoming out,
Yep.
closely undercarriage damage.
Roof, yep. Exactly. Not to mention, you know, here's something, we've got a plate, we're attached to the low side. What other problem is that creating right there?
Tripping hazard.
Tripping hazard, exactly. So we all know that we're not always unloading cars in the beautiful sunshine of 70 degrees. Sometimes it's dark, sometimes we're in early, sometimes we're in late. We're walking down the deck in the middle of the night, we could trip over something like that.
Can I touch on, Craig, like
Yeah.
when you said it's every car, every different model that comes across, and that's sometimes what gets people, They put a spotter out for the car to come across, the rail car, everything looks okay, they climb back down. You got a 10-stringer out there. If you have 7 different model cars or 5 different model cars on there, there needs to be a spotter for every different style model regardless. If it's a Jeep, then a pickup truck, then a car. If you do not have a spotter for every model that's on there, that's a failed question.
To go a step further, guys, let's say the very first junction on a strand of 9 rail cars. You're gonna leave a spotter, it doesn't matter. You're gonna leave a spotter at that first junction for everything that's on that A deck, I guess is what I'm getting at. Don't take it, hey, there's Silverados, all these are Silverados. Well, guess what? If there's a GMC mixed in with those Silverados, it is a different vehicle. If we have a deck height variance, you leave a spotter at that junction until that deck's offloaded, period. And everybody understands what a spotter is, right? A spotter is another individual employee that's sitting there watching that vehicle go off to check for clearance and everything. So, rule is, if we have a person at a junction, you stay at that junction until we offload that deck, period.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, just spot the whole thing. Anything else on the deck heights? Alright, this is the big troublemaker. It actually, I haven't updated these averages since the last time. That's actually more in the mid-80s now, about 84-85%. Couplers in proper position. This is the lowest scoring question of this section. But what we're looking for is, are the couplers positioned to allow the proper seating of the facility's bridge plates? Do we have both size plates out here, or just?
Yes.
We do have 53s and 56s? Okay. So when the 53-inch plates are used, the measurement is strictly 38 to 46. When 56-inch plates are used, the measurement is 41 to 49. So basically, we've got both plates out here. We're looking at a range of 38 to 49 inches. Now, at 38 to 41, you must use the shorter 53-inch plate. At 46 to 49, you must use the longer 56-inch plate. So from 41 to 46, you could use either one, right? As long as you're in pairs. But again, the measurement, so these are 2 seal-safe or radial type enclosures. Back of the barrel ring to the center of the lower locking pin. There it is up close. So we'll measure back of the barrel ring across to the center of the lower locking pin retainer. So this junction would be 43 inches. Perfect. That'd be perfect for here. You could use your 56s or your 53s in sets, no problems. Again, most of the questions we get as far as measuring, I think everybody's pretty much got a seal safe or a radial down on where to measure. But here, we would be looking at, if I'm measuring from this rail car, I would go just like everything else, right from the back of the barrel ring. If I'm measuring to this rail car from another rail car, I'd go right here to the end of this deck. That would be your first point of rest if a plate was coming back across. Same thing here on the National Steel car. If I'm measuring from this multi-level, I'm going to go right here at the back of the barrel ring. If I'm measuring across to it, say you've got two National Steel cars together, again, right here at the edge of this deck, which we would call first point of rest for a plate. Same thing on the Multi-Max. I'm going to come, if I'm measuring from it, from the barrel ring, if I'm measuring to it, right here, where the gray starts on the end of the deck, is where we're going to measure back across. Now, with the National Steel car, the Multi-Max, the Autoflex, the convertible racks, if it's spotted up against a seal safe or a radial, you'll get two measurements. If you measure from this back to the radial, and say it's an extended junction, say it's in the high 40s, if I measure from this to a radial, I may come across at 50 inches coming back to the radial to the center of the drop pin, right? Then I measure from the radial to this, and it's 47, right? Has anybody come across
Can you
that?
take the bigger one?
These rail cars, the National Steel car, the multi-flat or the Multi-Max, the convertible racks, we will give these to you both ways. Those are the only type of rail cars we will. Generally, if you've got two radials together and one way's bad, it's bad. We will give you these. So why is coupler spacing important? So we've determined in section N, the recommended practices that range 38 to 49 inches for those two plate sizes, right? We've determined that that is the safe crossing distance for those plates and those measurements. And this is something hopefully nobody in this room, other than us old guys, has seen. But this is what we used to do a long time ago when you'd have an extended junction. They double plate it. So hopefully you guys can see by looking at this picture how incredibly unsafe that is. So what they would do is they would just double plate it, give themselves just a little bit of that extra lip there and support, so when they drive across it, it doesn't collapse. Doesn't always work. So this is what happens. To me, this is an extended junction. It looks like we've got probably the wrong plates up there. Those might be short plates. And then we try to drive a pretty decent sized weight vehicle across it, and we end up in the hole.
Question for you on this before Mike gets tied up. You're gonna see more and more Country Strong or the Precision Spacing Tool out there. There's a meeting with another customer today for 6 of them, so we have one here.
Yeah.
So what is the rule for these guys? The reason we put it in here is because couplers are bad, of course. What is allowed for these guys with the Precision Spacing Tool before you'll call that coupler bad?
Well, it's the same. So, I mean, you can open the doors, and you're fine. But as soon as somebody climbs up on that deck to tag, brake, inspect, anything, I see anybody walking on the deck, it's now a scoreable junction.
Okay.
But you can open or put plates up. You can open the doors, and if that's what we're doing, we're going through and we're opening the doors. We're not doing anything else. We're just identifying junctions for them to come back and fix. No problem. But as soon as you work it, you put plates up, you tag it, you inspect it, you go to check a VIN. Guy climbs up on the A deck to take a leak next to the A3 unit. I'm gonna score it because you're up there. So as soon as you start any work whatsoever on that track, that stringer, they're now scoreable junctions.
So does everybody truly understand that, especially Mark, since you'll be overseeing it? That's what the tool's designed for.
So say his track's got a split on it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're working on far end, but we're still fixing junctions on the end closest to us. The second anything connected to that string is being worked on, it's all live.
Yeah, first of all, I wouldn't let anybody on a stringer regardless of direction if I'm gonna be compressing and extending farther down the string. So yeah, whether it's a split or not, as soon as you start on that stringer, the whole stringer's scoreable. Yep.
So for anybody with Country Strong or the PST, you measure everything first.
Right.
So what he said is even if it's a split, 2 this way, 3 this way, if you put people on the 2 while you're working on the 3, they're gonna score.
Well, and Selkirk's,
They have them.
I know. When I was up there last year and we had 2-3 bad junctions.
Yeah.
I was up there this year, perfect, 100% spotty.
So if it's like a bad deck height or a misspot or something, you want us to cone it off or just leave it the way it is and not work it?
Well, if you guys aren't gonna work it, I'd recommend closing the door.
But same thing goes. You go in there and break it, code it. The second you put foot on that rail car, it's scoreable regardless. You close the doors, it's scoreable.
And that's why I would say close the door, because guys get up to brake, and a lot of times there's a disconnection between, hey, that's bad or this is bad. If the door's open, the guy's going to the next round car and
Yeah.
continuing to brake.
So-
So
Got it.
What, guys, for the Tampa guys, what he's getting at, if you have 5 going this way and 4 going this way, let's say the 4 going this way, we got a deck height, so we're not gonna offload those 4 going the other direction. Close all 4 rail cars, and we can work these 5 rail cars. So, that's the best way.
I would assume you're measuring when you're opening doors, right?
Ideally, yes, we are.
So you guys open doors, you measure right then, right?
Yes.
So you know before you even go to that it's bad. Now, if it's a deck height over 4 inches, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yep.
So that you just got to leave it closed.
Yep.
If it's a 50 inch and you're gonna come, then, obviously you're not gonna, close it up, cause you're gonna fix it. But again, if somebody's working on the stringer, and like I said, I wouldn't be working one end and compressing or extending another end with guys on the deck. That's probably something I'll have to bring up with Pat and Dave, because we've run into problems like that before. With people with trackmobiles and stuff like that. So they bring a trackmobile under a flag and work on something that's got guys on it. You kind of be crossing into that same territory. So I would make sure everybody's clear of that track when you're working on it.
And this is a filler because it's a new tool that's out there, but you're gonna see more and more of them. getting more and more of them out there, so just utilize it for what it's used for, whether, so now that takes away the burden. If you spot a facility, you should be 100% all the time.
Right.
This gives you the same advantage. You have the tool to be 100% at all times. It's how you do it. Thanks, Greg.
Well, besides the deck heights, we can't control. that.
Besides the deck heights, but as far as coupler, the question we were working on was coupler
Yeah.
positions. Tell him, Craig.
Yep.
Hey, hey, brother, the spot is,
I know.
deck heights, he's fine.
No, it's a good point. But what you can do is close the door and walk away from it.
So that is, again, in a destination quality review, I mean, we're running in the mid 80% on that, and obviously, Interrail's developed an industry tool that is gonna be a great benefit. Cause that affects, the bad coupler spacing, affects reload. So if we're rolling over rail cars here, 4, 5, 10 rail cars a day, that's another day that multi-level's not getting emptied and turned back to an origin to be reloaded. So being able to unload everything every day that's spotted is a huge benefit to the industry. It keeps the empties moving.
And it's not just one. So if your first split's bad, you're holding up 8 more behind it. That one split's gonna cost you to lose 9 rail cars,
Yep.
which is a lot of money to the railroad and demurrage
Yep.
and the strain on the return, so.
Yeah, origins are screaming for rail cars and they're not getting them because they're sitting at destination because they're not spotted correctly. Any other coupler spacing questions? All right, handbrake set. Generally don't see a problem with this, 97%. What we're looking for, handbrakes set on all multi-level spotted. The handbrakes are to be set before personnel begin climbing on them, plating them, entering them, or driving through them. So this is pretty much the same as the coupler spacing question. We can open the doors. In most operations, open and set the brakes as they go, but we're fine opening the doors. But as soon as, same thing, somebody steps foot on that deck, plates it, tags it, specs it, we're gonna score the brake. If the handbrake appears slack or not fully set, we'll check to see if the piston hollow rod is extended, indicating a brake application. So this isn't what we're looking for here. This is right here. If that's extended, then that's a good brake application for us. So anymore, a lot of the time, I don't even hit the brake handles. I'll just walk down the stringer and look for the piston extended. It's not very often you'll come across a slack handbrake. That's not, if it's slack, it's generally not set. And when I see handbrakes not set, it's usually because it's right next to a giant puddle or something they didn't want to walk in. It's been a while since I've seen a handbrake not set. Any questions on that? That's pretty simple. And what we're looking for here,
Quick question, are
Yeah.
you just scoring, like, for destination here, would just be the loads to be unloaded, make sure that the handbrakes
Yeah,
are
the
set?
fit-
In other words, like, sometimes, like, I've noticed, at the end of the day, the empties, they'll go ahead and knock the brakes off the empties for transportation to come hook up to it.
and that's fine.
not scored.
Yep, no, we're looking at the 15 rail cars that we're checking in the spotting, for proper placement and handbrakes and all that stuff. So yeah, it would be the stuff that they're working on. Empties closed up with the brakes popped, that's fine. Okay. And what we're looking for, if I do see a slack brake, okay, I have to get 2 full rotations. So start all the way up, back, all the way up, and then back, and then one more click. So I have to get 2 full rotations in 1 click. So I've seen guys over the years standing out there trying to get every little last click out of it, trying to blow their spine out of their back. Doesn't have to be that tight. I have to get 2 full rotations. Any other handbrake questions? This question we don't score a lot, but it's asking, are the multi-levels placed properly for unloading according to the green seal placement? So most facilities, when we come in, we wait till you're in the middle of your day, so all your stuff's opened up, seals are removed, you guys are already in the process of working. But if we do come in and there's still multi-level loads spotted, you haven't opened yet, and we have the opportunity to inspect to make sure that the green seals are applied properly, we'll take a look at it. So this question is a little different than the rest of the questions in this section. This question is scoreable as soon as the flag goes up. So you don't have to touch it for me to look at it, as soon as the flag is up on that track. So what gets people in trouble here is multi-level spotted facing each other, buys between tries, tries between buys, any kind of a TOXA car behind buys, stuff like that. we'll take into consideration being properly spotted. The other question I get is if they put the seals on backwards at the origin. That's no problem as long as they spotted it correctly on this end according to the direction.
Where they're out of green seals, there's no green seals. as long
Some
as it's
places don't
headlights.
use them, yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's headlights, okay.
So again, we don't see it very often, but if you do have a missed spot, right, say you got something facing, backwards or something like that, if you don't set the flag on the track, I can't check it. Once the flag's up, I can look at it. So I would imagine, what do you guys, just one flag here, flag the lead?
No, they
Or do you do it by track?
There's 4.
Okay.
So you would recommend if there's 4 up, 1 bad, 3 down, or 3 more up, don't
flag
touch the track.
Yeah.
So you can't unload the 3 good. Okay.
So, for instance, here, our track 6 and 7, that blue flag and D-roll connect both of them.
Yep.
So what if we get, transportation spots us up that wrong? Do we have to put a portable on it or for that one single one? Or?
If you don't want me to look at it, yeah. Yep.
So, alright, in Memphis, we have.
Don't tell on yourself.
I'm pretty sure.
I've got.
Memphis, it's 2 derails for 4 tracks, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I've got two tracks I can use,
Yeah.
but
Oh, they're
it's
down to
split.
2?
Huh?
They're down to 2?
Yeah, that number 1 track by the
Yeah.
fence is gone.
Gone?
But so they spot normally it's 6, and then I've got a gap, and then I get another 6. So say my number 2 track, I've got something bad. I'm gonna lose that whole 12 by not putting that flag up. So that's basically 12 rail cars
Yeah.
I'd have to leave
Yep.
because you'd be able to get me, even though the other 6 wouldn't be touching.
But
The 6 rail cars were my bad.
keep in
Raise the
mind,
flags up.
this
Yeah.
the green seal that we're talking about right now, how
Mhm.
many times have you ran across that?
Well, it's not the green seal,
It's
Greg. Or Sean.
being spotted backwards or something like that.
Yeah, many times I've seen a tri-level spotted
Well-
by or bi-level spotted backwards. That's where the problem comes.
Maybe twice a year I'll call something on that.
Yeah.
So, and I do like 100 audits a year, so maybe twice a year I'll run into it.
So you're better off letting the 12 go
Yeah.
than taking a bad score on it.
Yeah.
It's out of your control. If it's out of your control, you're better going to the safe side.
Yeah, and so what, say you had 15 rail cars spotted for the day, 1 is backwards blocking 4, right? So those 5, so that question would score 10 of 15. Because you'd have 5 you couldn't unload for proper placement.
That's why you don't want to play with it.
I got you.
Let Jim Hull yell at you for holding 12.
I don't think you're gonna yell when it comes
No,
to
Yeah,
this.
he will. He'd be aight with it, trust me.
Yeah, just tell him I said you could just roll the whole spot.
All right.
All right, any other questions on that?
Control over.
All right, track protection. So is track protection in place for all rail cars prior to beginning work? So track protection, flags or derail, everybody up here in the States is using derails. Should be in place on all tracks for cars to be in work. So this is a yes or no question, 100% or a 0. What gets people in trouble here is, say we've got 5 tracks spotted or whatever, and we got 4 of them flagged, and we were having a respot on the 5th one, and then the 5th one gets respotted, and guys run out there and start working before the flag gets up or something like that. I've had operations where they just flat forgot to put it up for the day. So if you got 10 tracks and 9 of them are flagged and 1 of them's not, it's gonna be a 0. It's a yes or no question. You either get it all right or not at all. So for us, a derail and a flag like this is acceptable. By our scoring procedures, just a flag is okay, but I don't know anybody, and I know CSX doesn't do it this way. You gotta either have a line to lock switch or a derail positive track protection. When I started back in the 90s, we used just flags, and not once have I ever seen just a flag stop a train movement. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's the first thing we do when we go out there is put up our track protection. Any questions on that? Any questions on any of the multi-level spotting stuff? All right. Section B covers the indoors, decks, and bridge plate procedures. We got 8 questions here. Still no C questions. We're all A's and B's here. But we got doors open and stored. Are we using the proper plates at the junction? Plates attached to the high side, decks up and down, plates lowered down, doors closed and locked, and the bridge plate conditions. And doors open and stored. We're pretty good about this across the industry. But
Hey,
we're
real quick,
Yeah.
Greg, just for everyone in the room, that first section, you know, you guys are probably, usually that's more of a railroad thing, right? Or there's a supervisor or someone touching that process, so every single person in this room doesn't necessarily have to worry about coupler spacing to the degree that someone else does, right? This section, pay particular attention, because this is stuff you guys touch and control, okay? So this is where, you know, when we see exceptions on these audits, that you are directly responsible for these things in this section. I just want to point that out and pay particular attention to this one.
So the doors open and stored. We checked 6 multi-levels. It's scored by individual doors, so 6 multi-levels, 4 doors per multi-level, 24 end doors. We're verifying that they're fully open. And we got, we'll go through it here. Here we got a seal safe. On the seal safe radials, I mean, we only score the lower locking pin. So we'll look to make sure that this lower locking pin is engaged with the lower door track. We don't score the upper pin, but for your personal safety, I would make sure they're in. That door, upper locking pin's not in, you go to climb that ladder, that door moves, could give somebody a slip or fall. This is a Johnstown America car. You guys probably don't see a lot of them, but they're still out there. And on the outside of that door, when it folds over, you've got this locking mechanism right here. You can see this one's engaged, this one is not. Generally, when I see those doors, I'll just pull on that ladder to see if that door will pull open for me. Rave doors, everybody's favorite. So this locking paw right here is right here on the upper part of the middle of the door. See a lot of exceptions on these, and I think the reason is you know, 90% of the doors that we're dealing with, we open, we look down, we look down, we look down. This actually requires you to look up to make sure that that lock paw is engaged. The Multimax, this is the first generation of the Multimax door. This door folds open, locks right here. That locking handle comes across the lower part of that door pin. About 100, I think it's about 100 racks they built. It had a secondary locking pin right here. And that's fine if it's there, use it if you'd like, we don't score it. It's not anything we score. They only built about 100 racks with it and then they stopped doing it. It was a secondary locking device at their own direction to be used with discretion by the ramp operator. So whether you wanted to use it or not, we don't score it. National steel car door, right here, this is in the middle of the door where it folds back here. Secondary locking bar engaged. And the big thing that gets everybody on these national steel car doors is that ladder's got to be extended, okay? It doesn't matter if it's roadside, plate side, gravel side,